Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. As we approach the middle days of January, we have a little bit of severe thunderstorm risk to talk about in the deep south for tomorrow. Also, snow hasn't gone completely away. There is a lot of warm air still in the country, but there is a little bit of a shift coming up that will send the northeast and the central plains, north central plains, back into some chilly winter conditions once again. Let's get started. Welcome, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We'll start off by looking at the visible satellite loop this afternoon. A very classic cyclone development here. The comma shape showing up in the clouds very sharply. Dry air punching in right here with just waves of showers and thunderstorms. Fortunately, despite the fact that much of this area was looking for some severe weather today, no additional watches were issued this afternoon, and as of this recording anyway. And that's good news. The air just not supporting robust severe weather at this time. The 500 millibar flow shows a trough of low pressure developing in the west, a little bit different than what we've seen here recently, where we've had a ridge of high pressure right here. So this is what is promoting snow levels dropping in Colorado. Good news to the skiers. This little short wave right here is what's actually helping to develop the low I'll show you on the next graph here. And the ridge is on the east coast, so warm conditions out ahead of this latest surface low, which if we look at this is what the models think it'll look like at 6 p.m. and it's pretty accurate. So very windy conditions leading up to this low in eastern Iowa. The latest cool high is now centered over New York City and moving off to sea. So we got a warming trend here. And it is cooler behind here, but seasonably so. But it will be enough, however, to, I think, promote snow in an area more like this. I'll cover that here in a minute, which has been not the winter pattern. The winter pattern thus far has been more like this. And with the ridge out here and these little clipper systems moving along. So this will briefly depart from that for a while before going back to it in the middle of January. We'll show you the radar loop from in the middle of the afternoon here, showing this line of thunderstorms, but I did not see really any additional warnings along that, and this was not under any kind of watch last time I checked. There was a tornado watch in this area earlier today, even a few confirmed tornadoes southeast of Oklahoma City in the morning. But that is all that I've seen so far. But let's take a look at the severe storm situation, in particular how it's going to be developing for tomorrow, Friday, in the deep south. Well, of course, with these severe weather outlooks, wherever the squall line is, and it's right about here, everything on this side, you can take yourself out of this risk area. But there is still a level 1 out of 5 risk broadly from almost Chicago down the length of Illinois to Memphis, again, covering anything ahead of that squall line right there. And there is a very marginal tornado risk, too, 2%, that covers almost the same area. It doesn't go as far north, but goes just about as far south for the remainder of Thursday. And by the way, Thursday is defined by the Storm Prediction Center, who issues these outlooks as everything between now and 6 a.m. or 12Z tomorrow. So that's what's going on with that. I'm going to show you the simulated radar for the next 2 days. So it does show this activity as it's moving through Missouri and Illinois and also Arkansas. And then it kind of shifts and bends over a little bit and becomes a problem here in Alabama and Mississippi and Tennessee tomorrow. And maybe even on day 3, getting in and into Sunday, there might be some activity down here worth watching. Nothing real concrete showing up yet. So here is the forecast for Friday. It does have a level 2 or a slight risk for almost all of Louisiana and much of Mississippi and a good chunk of Alabama as well. Again, this is Friday, defined as 6 a.m. Friday to 6 a.m. Saturday. Again, reflecting on the fact that that squall line is going to kind of bend over a little bit and move through this area on Friday. The tornado risk is up to 5% in Jackson, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, maybe New Orleans, much of central Louisiana, maybe getting as far east as Birmingham, Alabama. This is again for Friday, but I will show you that the NATOcast does actually agree with that. It's about a 5% risk in almost the exact same area. So again, we only have those reported tornadoes today in central Oklahoma. Tomorrow, it's not a real favorable situation, but it definitely could happen. It certainly is into higher moisture and instability down there than we had at any time during any of this today. So there is a chance that those thunderstorms can be rooted a little bit closer to the surface, and any rotation that's available to those storms can be focused. So tornado possibilities, I think, tomorrow are generally a little greater than they were today. not full blown, but something worth noting for those areas we talked about. Now let's flip the coin completely and talk about snow. We have a winter weather advisory for the western half of the UP of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, and also for northeastern Wisconsin. And here are the next 72 hours worth of snow totals. So we can see some snow to the tune of about a foot, maybe a little bit more, right along the shore of Lake Superior and also in the northern part of the lower part of the state of Michigan, and just kind of scattering of snow behind this low possible in upstate New York up into parts of New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. And then out west, this is what's been interesting and a little bit lacking. All the winter weather advisories have been in this area and up along here and up into Idaho. Now we have winter storm warnings in northern New Mexico and around the Colorado Springs area. So, and winter weather advisories surrounding that. So this is a little bit of a departure from what has been happening this winter. And, you know, people that may be wanting to see the ski resorts in this area see a little boost. This is going to help them out a little bit. So here's the forecast for that area. Not a lot of snow, to be honest, though. Maybe a foot of snow in some areas. For a mountain snow, that's actually a little underwhelming. But notice there are little streaks of snow showing up here through the Central Plains, too. Just kind of a reflection of the fact that we have a little disturbance kind of winding around, a second little wave following this main low that may lay down maybe ultimately a little more snow than what's indicated there. This only goes through the next 72 hours, which is Sunday morning. If we extend it out a little further, we see a little more snow showing up, and I'll show it to you here in just a second. Then going way out ahead, this is the government issuing a snow hazard, so they kind of categorize the possibility of a heavy snow as either slight, moderate, or high. This is a slight risk area. Again, this looks suspiciously like a combination of lake effect snows and little clipper systems moving through New England. This is the 16th through the 20th, so solidly in the middle of January. Is there a pattern shift going on? You bet, and let's talk about it. The weekly means are out. This starts on Monday and goes through the next Sunday, so that's 7-day period. The mean 500 millibar flow. Warm and dry in the northwest part of the country. No rivers, atmospheric rivers going on there for sure. In fact, no snow really is going to happen in those areas. And they've traditionally have been getting this winter, I shouldn't say traditionally, they have been getting a lot of snow this winter so far. That shuts down next week for sure. Meanwhile, the East Coast is a trough of low pressure, so this is by default a cooler pattern here certainly. And this is basically developing. When you see this purple here, it just means that either the lines themselves are lower than they should be or normal and at any particular point, and also that they're curving southward a little bit more. So let's take a look at the temperature anomaly. So as you would expect, connected to a ridge of high pressure, as you would expect, above normal temperatures, I would expect to see readings a little bit below normal, but this is actually averaging over the period a little above normal. I think the reason for that is because we're looking again at a weekly total here. So this is heavily weighed by what happens the first few days of the week and not of the last half of the week when the Arctic air comes back. If we look at the snowfall rate for that same period, you'll notice we're back to this little clipper kind of pattern here where it looks like we're going to be a little bit above normal with our snows through here, and some evidence that some of that is lake effect snow as well. What about the temperatures? Again, very warm, but I think this is a changing pattern. Let's take a look. On Friday, tomorrow, if you see this dark red, that means readings are well above normal, and in this case, 25 to maybe 30 degrees above normal in Ohio, where Columbus is set to get to 65 on Friday. And meanwhile, it's getting cooler here with that trough of low pressure in the southwest in the Four Corners area, again helping out those snows in that area. That's Friday. Then we jump ahead 2 days to Sunday. Here's where the cool air in the wake of that latest low and high pressure system come on in. And this is what could support a little bit of snow in this area here before the temperatures start to warm back up. So it's a very temporary change. In fact, if you look at Sunday to Tuesday, we see, again, much of the country, except for the deep south, seeing above normal temperatures, though the yellow color is indicating that. And if it's a red, dark red, it means very much above normal for those areas. Let's take a look at the 6 to 10-day temperature forecast. It is showing two important things. Number one, we're seeing a sliver of maybe below normal temperatures in the northern lakes. Very warm, probably out in California and much of the west. If I extend this just by 2 more days, so instead of Wednesday to Sunday, we go Friday to Thursday, and that's a week from today through Thursday of that following, so that gets us well into the middle of January. Notice that these trends I've been talking about are really setting in now with a high confidence of below normal weather in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and that extends all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So again, a change in pattern, even though we're going to be relatively warm, take a little bit of a cool down, and then I think a more of a major change, not this coming work week, but the work week after that. Let's finally take a look at some heavy rain. Next 5 days, this is total precipitation. This would include snow melted down in a rain gauge, and this is what you would end up with. So this is all rain down here, and I'll zoom in on that in a second. This might be in question, right? I don't know if that's rain or snow. This is probably mostly snow, a little bit of rain mixed in. We can solve that real quick by looking, and this is just rough. We'll look at the EPS total snowfall for this next 5-day period, so just kind of memorize the Great Lakes states here mostly, and I'll change maps. And you'll see, yeah, maybe the southern end of that might be rain, but a lot of that's going to be snow laid down through Iowa. And notice there's kind of a connection there. So there's, again, a temporary change in the pattern that has storms coming out of the southwest for a change. But storms is maybe a strong word. Maybe disturbance might be a more appropriate word. And then once this gets into Canada, it really kicks in quite nicely. But let's take a look at that rainfall in the southeast. This looks good, healthy 2-3 inch totals from Birmingham down into southern Mississippi into, well, New Orleans too. If it's yellow on there, it's 4 inches of rain. And so that looks like a very healthy pattern of wetness for that area. They should relish it because on the 6 to 10 day forecast, they're kind of in a bubble of slightly below normal, whereas the northern plains are going to kick in again. And a lot of that's going to be, I think, snow in North Dakota eventually. And with that ridge out west, things dry up real fast along with the heat in Oregon, Washington, and California. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.